Hey, welcome to my BMX video. This is a story about how a 40-year-old guy finds out that there is an indoor bike park being built, pulls his old BMX out of storage after not riding it for at least 10 years, and decides he's gonna go try to get in shape a little bit and maybe learn a few tricks. This is going to be poorly edited, poorly narrated, shot on low quality cameras, and was never really intended to be seen by anybody else. This is my custom built Fly Diablo. It was built in 2001 and has some fairly neat and unique parts. It was built for street use and weighs about 35 pounds, so for use in an indoor wooden park, it definitely has some shortcomings. This photo was a reminder of two things. One, BMX takes a lot of endurance, and two, I did not have a lot of endurance. Being a little bit of a bike junkie, it was very easy to convince myself that I needed a new bike. I purchased this entry-level BMX on sale for about $400, and it turned out to be pretty well suited for my needs. And it's pretty hard not to smile when you have a new bike and you're riding at a new indoor bike park. I was somewhat concerned that the young people at this park wouldn't be very welcoming to somebody my age. I very quickly found out that not only were the young people very helpful and friendly, but there were a lot of people there that were my age and even some people who were older, and everybody was quite friendly and helpful. If you're wondering why this photo is in the video, it's because at the time I took it, I was convinced that these jumps were huge. I was terrified of them and convinced that I would never jump them. I used to sit in the rest area on the picnic tables and watch people just jumping over these jumps, and it was quite mind-blowing to me. The first several times I was there, I spent most of my time in this whoop section, our pump section. It's a lot of fun and builds a lot of endurance, as well as building some pretty decent bike handling skills. Several attempts at riding the curved wall ride left me with a bit of scrape on my elbow, but after a little bit of advice from some other cyclists, I was able to do this. The confidence that is built and the feeling that is achieved from pulling something like this off, especially after taking a few good crashes, is pretty incredible. Looking back at this clip is kind of amusing because I obviously thought that jumping this little 3-foot spine was worthy of recording. This wall ride was definitely beyond my confidence level at the time, but with the encouragement of another rider, I tried it anyway. In the end, I didn't end up getting hurt, so I guess all is well. I don't recommend that anybody go out and crash on purpose, but it does remind you that your bones aren't made of glass, and you do actually get better at crashing with time. Yes, this is bad quality video, shot with an iPhone, as is all of my slow-mo stuff. You can see my back tire cased pretty hard, but I was able to ride it out, so it's all good. A lot of days during the winter I would arrive at Beeline just after opening, and there wouldn't be very many people there. Some days I would sneak up to the black line, which was very intimidating, and try to imagine what it must be like for people to actually jump over these crazy jumps. It's important to remember not to put limitations on yourself and not to compare yourself to others. Just go out and have fun. The day after I did this transfer, which I was convinced was the coolest thing that I had ever done in my life, a 7-year-old kid came along and did this. It didn't take too long before I convinced myself that my bike could use a few upgrades. After replacing my handlebars, realizing that they were quite a bit lighter than the factory ones, and realizing that I really liked the feel of them, it got me thinking that I should probably upgrade a few more pieces. And with results like these, can you really argue with me? I mean, look at that X up. And look how shiny those handlebars are. It wasn't too long before I was riding the blue line, and it wasn't much longer before I took my first decent crash. I attempted a no-footer and didn't get my feet back on. Spent a few days at the chiropractor, and now my no-footers look like this. You can see there's not a whole lot of confidence there, and I'm spreading my legs kind of goofy. I developed a strange habit of learning tricks first in the green section, or in the green line, which is the beginner section, and then taking them to the blue line. Here you see me trying a couple of one-handers for the first time over the blue line, and fortunately landing them successfully. While filling up my water bottle, I noticed this guy trying to do a wall ride. I pulled out my phone. Unfortunately, I didn't do a very good job of recording it as I almost dropped my phone, but it was enough to inspire me later on to go ahead and try that same trick myself. Yes, that's him laying on the ground, and yes, I ended up that way a few times as well. But eventually I figured it out. It looks pretty clunky when you see it in slow motion, and the truth of it is you're basically just throwing yourself at the wall and bouncing off in the right direction, hopefully. Here it is from a different angle, and then again in slow motion. Watching this in slow motion, I think, lots of time for a bar spin. On a lot of days, especially when I wasn't feeling well or recovering from an injury, I would do silly little things like this, practice my balance, and just try to learn a little bit of bike control. Turns out it's a lot of fun. For a while I was using my GoPro a lot. I had it mounted on my chest and also spent some time with it mounted on the bike itself. I eventually stopped because I was collecting a whole lot of footage and not really doing anything with it. I guess I'm finally putting some of that to use. Well, that's the end of this video. Based on this next clip, see if you can figure out what trick I'm working on. And probably in the next video you'll see whether or not I pull it off or not. I'll try to put out another one of these videos fairly quickly, but this is mostly just so that I can watch my own progression and so that years later I'll have a record of what I was doing.